6-2 is fractions, decimals, and percents. And really what it means is we're going to do things exactly the opposite in 6-2 as we did in 6-1. Now, in 6-1, we took a percent, and let's say we were going to convert it to a decimal. 1700ths. We just did a real simple conversion like that into decimals. Well, here's what we're going to do in 6-2. We start off with a decimal and we convert it to a percent. So this is 1700ths. 1700ths is equal to percent. 1700ths, 17%. Okay? Now, once again, the problems are divided in, at least for my teaching, I divide them into various levels. Now, the very easiest level for when we do the homework workbook, numbers 1 through 8, the easiest level is when you have a decimal point and exactly 2 numbers. This is 3300ths, which is 33%. This is 2200ths, which is 22%. Okay? 5100ths is 51%, and 4900ths is 49%. Remember that hundredths are equal to percent. Hundredths are equal to percent. So this is the same as that, as long as you have exactly 2 numbers on this side of the decimal. Okay. As the problems get just a little bit harder for problems 1 through 8 on 6-2, what we enter into is where we have a 0 in the 10th spot. But still, if you just keep in mind that this is 5 hundredths, and hundredths is equal to percent. 5 hundredths is 5%. 3 hundredths is 3%. 0 tenths, but 4 hundredths. 4 hundredths is 4%, and 8 hundredths is 8%. Okay? And by the way, the book will give us problems where we have a 0 in front of the decimal. But in many tests and in some of our problems, maybe on our own tests, we may just have decimal 04. It really doesn't matter if there's a 0 here or not. Okay? All right. Now we'll go to some tricky ones. If you're not careful, this can be very tricky. All right? What we see here is decimal 9, and we're going to think that decimal 9 is 9%. No, that's not how this works. Watch this. Hundredths is equal to percent. How can we make decimal, so 0.9, 9 tenths, into 2 spots here? Watch this. Add a 0. 90 hundredths is 90%. Okay? Now some of you who are very good about coins, okay, you may think of 0.9 as 9 tenths or 9 dimes. How many cents with 9 dimes? 90 cents. Okay? Now, 0.8. You can either say 8 tenths is 8 dimes, or 0.80, 80 hundredths is 80%. 6 tenths is 6 dimes, 60%. Or, if we want to make 0.6 into hundredths, 60 hundredths is 60%. 0.7, 70%. 7 dimes, or 70 hundredths. Okay? The hardest problems on the top half of the homework page, numbers 1 through 8, they deal with decimals that go more than 2 places, okay? Now let's look at 0.332. Now I want us to remember this. Percents are equal to hundredths, okay? Now if we can look at these multiple numbers here and just concentrate on those first 2 numbers, 33 hundredths is 33%, just like always, okay? But watch what we do to any numbers in the 3rd place. We're going to write decimal 2, okay? So 0.33, 33%. Whatever comes after that comes after the decimal when we convert, all right? Now let's go over right here. Don't worry about that 0. Doesn't matter. What matters is right here. The first 2 numbers are hundredths, 42%. And then this 3rd number, we put a decimal point and the 3rd number. Actually, that's pretty easy. Okay? Now, just a little bit trickier. We go to where our hundredths, we only have 1 digit here. 7% is equal to 7 hundredths. And then we just go decimal and then the 3rd number. Okay? Now, same thing here. 6%, 0.3. 6.3%. Then once in a while, they'll give you more than 3 numbers. You do the exact same thing. Here is 12 hundredths. 12%. The numbers that come after the hundredths, you put decimal, then those numbers. So now we should be able to do problems 1 through 8 on the homework. Next, we'll go to the bottom half of the page, which is when we convert fractions to percentages. Now yesterday we converted percentages to fractions, and just like the top part of the page, we're doing the bottom part exactly opposite of what we did yesterday. Now, the very easiest problems are when we have a fraction like 1/2 where 2 can go into 100 in the denominator. Now remember, what you want as a fraction to convert into a percent, remember, percent means out of 100 or per 100 parts. So what you always want to do next to a fraction where the denominator can go in evenly into 100, you want to put a fraction with 100 on the bottom. Okay? And then we ask ourselves, 2 times what is 100? 2 times 50. So up here we go 1 times 50 is 50 over 100. And then anything over 100 is going to be percent. 50 over 100 is 50%. 1/2 is 50%. And if you know coins and dollars very, very well, okay, $1/2 is 50 cents. Same thing. Now, 1/4. Can 4 go into 100? Yes. So anytime the denominator can go evenly into 100, you put an equal sign and then a fraction bar. Now 4 goes into 100 25 times. So we multiply the top by the same thing. 1 times 25 is 25. Now anytime you have a number per 100, that number is automatically your percent. Okay? Now as we move over across the board, let's go ahead and let's remember these 4 little combinations. 2 times 50 is 100, 10 times 10 is 100, 4 times 25 is 100, and 5 times 20 is 100. So all of these numbers can be divided evenly into 100 on the bottom. So something like 3/4, okay? 4 times 25, well, what's 3 times 25? 75. Anytime you have a number over 100, it's just simply that number with a percent sign. Pretty easy, right? 7/10, okay? Can 10 go into 100? Yes. 10 times 10. 7 times 10 is 70. Any number over 100 is that number with a percent sign. Ta-da! Pretty easy. Now, 4 over 25. We know that 25 times 4 is 100. So on top, we do the same thing. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 over 100 is 16%. Pretty easy. 3/5. 5 times 20 is 100. 3 times 20 is 60. 60 over 100 is 60%. 3/5 converts to 60%. 9/20, what does that convert to? Well, 20 times 5 is 100. 9 times 5 is 45. 45 over 100 is 45%. 17 over 50, okay? 50 times 2 is 100. 17 times 2, I forgot that, teacher. 34. And so that's 34%. Okay? Now those are all pretty easy. Our next level with problems 9 through 16, it'll get a little tougher. Those problems were pretty easy when the denominator divided evenly into 100. But look at this problem here. Some of the tricky problems of 9 through 16, in the denominator of the fraction, they cannot go evenly into 100. Does 40 go into 100 evenly? No. Okay? So what we have to do when we get to this is we have to divide, long division, and we all go, yuck. But that's what we have to do. Okay? In order to convert this into a percent, we're going to have to divide. Now remember, the bottom number is on the outside. The top number is on the inside. And we first ask ourselves, can 40 go into 11? No. Decimal point, 0. Now 40 goes into 110 twice, because 3 times 40 is 120. So 2 times 40 is 80. And remember, keep those columns straight. Now, 11 minus 8 is 3. So now we have 30. But since it's on this side of the decimal, we always add a 0. 40 into 300, that's like 4 into 30. That goes 7 times. And so 4 times 7 is 28. We get 20. We add a 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. And there we have it, 0.275. Now, to get the answer, we have to convert that decimal into a percentage. And we learned how to do that yesterday. Now watch this. 0.275. Now remember, you take the hundreds, 27%, 27 hundredths, then go 0.5. Take that number after a decimal. So the decimal, 275 thousandths, is equal to 27.5%. Okay? That was not easy. Same thing with 7/12. Can 12 go into 100? No. So what we have to do in order to convert this to a percent, we have to divide 12 into 7. Now can 12 go into 7? No. Decimal 0. 12 How many dozens go into 70? 5, 60, 10. Now, since it's on this side of the decimal, automatically add a 0. We get 8 here. We get 96. We get 4 here. Add the 0. 12 times 3 is 36. We get a 4. Add the 0. And it's going to be like that. Now we know if we're going to convert this to a decimal where it doesn't have all those 3's, we do that with a repeating line there. Okay? Now we have to take this and convert it to a fraction. 0.583 with a bar. Now you take the first two. 58 hundredths is 58%. Then decimal 3 bar. 58 point repeating 3%. Okay? Let's find a green. Now we have 5 6. So we ask ourselves, can 6 go into 100? No. So we're going to have to divide. All right? So we divide 6 into 5. Can do it. Decimal 0, 8, 48. And we get 2. Add a 0. 6 into 20. That's going to go 3 times. 18. 2. Add a 0. 18. Repeat. Okay? So what we're going to have now is 5 6 is 83 point repeating 3%. Okay? Good job. Now the problems on the bottom that are very, very tricky, okay? Watch how the answer is just going to be a little tougher here, okay? Can 80 go into 100? No. So we divide 80 into 7, all right? Can 80 go into 7? No. So we put the decimal, add the 0. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. Can 80 go into 70? No. So you have to put the 0 here before you add another 0 there. And this is very critical. We got to keep these columns straight. Okay? All right. Now, 8 is going to go into 70, let's say. 8 times 9 is 72. No, so we go 8 times 8 is 64. And then we add that 0 there. And then 70 minus 64, go ahead and carry. We have 60. Now since it's after the decimal, we put the 0. So 80 into 600. 8 into 60 is 7. And we get 8 times 7 is 56 and a 0. We subtract and we get 40. Now, add that 0. 80 into 400 is like 8 into 40. 8 into 40 is 5. And our division is over. But our problem is not over. This is a tough answer. Right there. We have to convert that to a percent. Okay? Now, the first two numbers are hundredths, 8%. The next two numbers come after a decimal, 8.75%. And that was all made difficult because of what happened right here, the 0 in the tenths column. Okay? All right. Now let's shift over here. 1/15. All right? Okay, can 15 go into 100? No. 15 cannot go into 100. So we're going to take 15 into 1. All right? Now let's remember this. Keep our column straight. Absolutely. Now 15 into 1, can't do it. Add a 0, add a decimal point. Now can 15 go into 10? No. Add another 0. Now 15 into 100. Let's make a guess. Let's say 7. 35 and 70 is 105. This is too high. So it's going to be 6. 15 times 6, 6 times 1 is 60, plus 30 is 90. Okay? 90, and that was 15 times 6. Now 100 minus 90 is 10, and we add a 0. Whoa! Okay. Well, it looks like we're just going to, see, we'll get 90 again. So this is a repeat. All right, are we done yet? No. Okay. Now what we care about, here is the percent in hundreds. That's 6 hundredths, so that's 6%. Now you have all this repeating stuff here, so we're going to go 6.6 with a repeating bar over it. Okay? Now the very bottom part of the page has word problems. And I don't want you to get all freaked out by word problems. So many kids and adults, they read, this paragraph and they just freak out and go, well, I don't know what to do. Well, look, on the bottom of every one of these pages that have word problems, you simply do the computation that you practice up above. So we're either going to take fractions or decimals and then convert them into percentages. That's what the word problems are going to be about. Now, the word problem for number 17 on the bottom of 6-2, the first word problem, 17, says we have a total group of 60 people, and out of that total group, 41 say yes to a particular question. Okay? So 41 say yes out of a total of 60, and what the question asks at the end is, what percent of the people answered yes? Well, we know how to do this. We're going to take that fraction and convert it into a percent. Okay? So we'll do it just like we did it before, except instead of doing this exactly, I'm going to do 43 over 60. So at home, you can do 41 over 60. So 43 over 60 is just like we did above. Can 60 go into 100 evenly? No. Okay? So then we take 60 into 43. Oh, can't go, so decimal 0. Now, 6 into 43, that's 7. And so 7 times 6 is 42, and 7 times 0 is there. So we get 10, and we add that 0, because we're beyond the decimal point. 60 goes into 100 one time, there's 60. 60 goes into 40, and then we have to add the 0. 60 goes into 400. 6 goes into 45 6 times, 36. And look what we get. We'll have that repeater going on here. Okay? Now remember, this is not the answer. Now we have to convert it. Right there is our hundredths, 71%. Period. And then how do we write that? 6 with a repeating bar over it. Okay? Now the very last problem on the whole page is a rather easy type of word problem. The numbers basically are, there are 6 people who say yes, or 6 people who do something out of 25 total. Okay? Now, let's not do that one. Let's just say it's 9 out of 25. Now remember what we do here. you always first ask yourself, can 25 go into 100? Yes. 25 times what is 100? 4 quarters. So you multiply by 4 on top, you get 36 over 100. Now, is that the answer? No. It says, what percentage is 9 out of 25? Any number over 100 is the percent. So, 9 people out of 25 is equal to 36% of those people. Okay? All right.